Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Today we're going to talk about the 5 stages of probating Bitcoin. So probating Bitcoin is more complicated than your usual probate. We've already discussed in the past the 3 stages of probate generally, and we'll throw a link in there. And today we'll describe some specifics of that process for when the deceased owned Bitcoin. Just what are some of the wrinkles, yeah?
Yes, that's a good way to put it, the wrinkles.
So before we even dive into the steps, I mean, how do you, and I guess you could consider this step 0, how do you find out if the deceased even had Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked about this with the 3 steps you should take if you think a Bitcoin owner has passed away. And just to recap, you check for any hardware wallets, which are little devices that could perhaps look like a USB thumb drive, or sometimes they even look like a little mini calculator or small, almost look like a smartphone, but like a really cheap smartphone.
Right.
Those are some hardware devices that can be used to hold your keys for Bitcoin. There's also just check the decedent's phone or computer for software, soft wallets, anything along those lines. And if you have no idea what you're looking for, if you have no idea what those apps are named or what the icons look like, just do a Google image search of most popular software wallets. That'll help you narrow the field.
Yeah. And actually, it changes so often, right? Like Every day they're coming out with something new. So you might just want to Google what could Bitcoin be stored on, at this given moment.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even in the couple of years we've been talking about this, things have changed dramatically.
Changed so much. Yeah.
Lastly, you might want to look for any instances of 12 or 24 words. This can be written on a scrap of paper. It could be etched into metal plates, which some people like to do for, to prevent water damage. Anytime you see anything like this and you're like, what is this? What is dog, cat, watermelon? Those are probably not real.
Words,
that was not my seed, I promise. But anything you see and you're wondering what the heck could this be, and you suspect your decedent was into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin specifically, it might be the seed phrase to his wallet. Yeah. Okay, so now that you've determined that, or you think you've determined that he or she owned Bitcoin, then you need to go get letters testamentary for Bitcoin. Okay? So number 1, is this actually necessary? Do you actually need to get letters testamentary for someone, especially if someone had self-custody, meaning it was held in their private wallet and not on an exchange or not with an institution? So the answer is practically no. You don't need letters testamentary because there's no gatekeeper. That's the whole point of Bitcoin. There's no gatekeeper who's going to give you permission to access those coins. Once you have your decedent's keys or device with PIN or whatever, you have possession of them. Okay, so practically speaking, you may not even need letters testamentary. However, legally, yeah, you absolutely need that.
Yeah.
So think of it this way. If you walked into the decedent's house and found some cash and picked it up and walked out, yeah, practically you could do it, but it doesn't mean you should, or you definitely legally can't,
No.
Jewels, the Picasso on your uncle's wall. You could technically walk in without letters testamentary and take it, but you really shouldn't. And the same kind of applies to Bitcoin. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Absolutely.
You may be able to technically do it, or with the seeds or the device, but if you want to keep things according to Hoyle and you want to keep the family from falling apart, don't do it.
Right. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
So next. Now that you have your letters testamentary and you've confirmed that your decedent owned Bitcoin, how do you take custody of the decedent's Bitcoin? Okay. We're generally, I'm going to go into the details, but generally you want to move it out of the decedent's wallet into a new wallet for the purpose of the probate process, which can be a year or often longer, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to leave it in the existing storage solution. That's my opinion. I'm sure there's arguments pro and con, and I'll explain my reasoning. So first, if the Bitcoin was held on an exchange, such as Kraken, Coinbase, Gemini, etc., Binance, just submit the paperwork, probably the death certificate, letters testamentary, some claim forms. Just submit it, and you'll be able to authorize a withdrawal. Very similar to a bank or brokerage account. Okay, but if it's not on an exchange, if the Bitcoin was held in self-custody in a hardware, software, or seed phrase wallet, just number 1, make sure you have the necessary device, words, pins, whatever you need to access that particular wallet. And then again, my recommendation is to move it into a let's call it a probate wallet. Oh, I just came up with a new word.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And for any executor who knows how to manage their own risk and who knows how to cover their own tail, basically, you're going to want to do a 2 of 3 or even higher multi-sig with a reputable custody service such as CASA, Unchained, some of these folks we've talked about before. And the reason for this is that they'll hold a third key, and this will help in case your executor dies during probate. That's one thing you want. I mean, 2 years can be 2+ years can be a long time, if probate stretches. Yeah, anything could happen. You also want to minimize the risk of your executor losing his key, seed phrase, or device, or the device failure, or whatever the many reasons are. Yeah. You don't want the executor to be held personally liable for losing access to the Bitcoin on that particular wallet.
Yeah, we've talked about that. There's more of a chance of someone losing the information than there is of almost everything else. Yeah.
And all those arguments and all those statistics apply just as much to the 1 or 2 or longer years that the executor is in charge as they do to you as the Bitcoin holder before you pass away. So you want to make sure as executor you don't put yourself in that position. 2 or 3, there's no perfect solution, but 2 or 3 multi-sig creates some levels of redundancies. It's some backups. You're not relying on one set of keywords. You're not relying on one hardware device. And that's sort of why we recommend that. Okay. And by the way, if this sounds complicated, if you're thinking, what the heck, will my executor know how to do that? Probably not. And that's exactly why you should consider hiring a professional executor who's familiar with Bitcoin, or a professional Bitcoin executor, which I am trying to stake my claim as.
Yes. To say, I know a guy. I have a guy for that. Yeah.
Okay. So now that you have possession of the Bitcoin, or your executor has possession of the coin, the question is, should the executor sell or hold during the pendency of the probate? That's a tough one. That's probably the toughest question of all the things. Everything else I'm telling you was easy for me to come up with the answers. This one's tough.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, generally, in general probates, the rule of thumb for executors is to sell and convert everything to cash or cash equivalents, stocks, bonds. What else is volatile? I don't know. Beanie Babies. Who knows, right?
Wow.
Right. I know. I just dated myself. Whatever.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So why? Why is that the rule of thumb? Because an executor's job is not to grow your money. He's not a financial advisor. His job is to preserve the value of the estate. Just make sure it don't go down. Doesn't matter if it doesn't go up. Just don't go down. Okay? Correct. Executors only get blamed and sued if it goes down, if the value of the estates go down. There's no reward, or very little reward, if the value of the estate goes up. Nobody's going to pat you on the back.
You don't get a trophy. No.
Yeah, it doesn't help. All you have is downside. So, when I'm when I'm wearing my attorney hat and I'm advising an executor, everything is about protecting my executor and protecting him or her from these downside risks. So there's no benefit to trying to make things go up. Yeah. But, and this is a huge but, and this is why this is a tough question. Most Bitcoiners are pretty hardcore, or some would say cultish, about their holdings. Yep. And they don't want dollars. They want Bitcoin. They want to leave Bitcoin to their heirs. And the heirs perhaps want Bitcoin. They don't want cash so that they have to end up buying the Bitcoin back.
Right.
If that's the case, if that is the mandate from the person who passed away, then yes, it is possible, but just know that the executor is bearing some pretty considerable risks. So there's some steps that have to be done. There's some paperwork that has to be filed, and there's some protective measures that have to take place for an executor to be able to comfortably do this and hold it as Bitcoin, even as the price goes up and down and up, roller coasters up and down during the pendency of the probate. This is very risky, and most executors just won't do it. So again, if this is important to you, consider hiring a professional Bitcoin executor who knows what they're doing, is comfortable bearing the risk under the right circumstances, and also kind of believes and is willing to do it. Yeah. Right.
Now, does it sound like the decedent should prepare this in advance, right? That's what they want. So
so that's something that they can try to spell out in their will. But even if they do that, or trust, but even if they do that, a lot of executors,
it's still a liability.
Yeah, it's still a liability. So you really have to have that kind of tight relationship, or really express your desires with your executor to make them feel comfortable bearing this risk and, putting in the safeguards in place and just doing it to make sure that they honor your final wishes. Yeah.
Right.
So then the last stage of the 5 stages of probating Bitcoin, you want to close the estate. And many folks, whether it's, non-Bitcoin probate or just regular probate, they often think once the executor collects the assets, and in this case, the Bitcoin, then they can immediately turn around and just kind of relay it to the heirs. No. The distribution of the estate does not occur immediately after I guess in this case, does not occur immediately after the executor, gets his hands on the hardware wallet. Right. No. There's a whole long waiting period. You have to make sure you understand what the decedent's debts, expenses, and taxes were, and then you got to pay them.
Right.
So only once all those items are cleared, final debts, final taxes, only then can an executor safely distribute. What do I mean by safely distribute? If an executor pays out the Bitcoin or the inheritances before he has settled final taxes and debts, and then later, he gets hit with the tax bill, he either has to go to each and every one of those heirs and say, hey, can I have some money back? Good luck.
Good luck.
Or the IRS doesn't care who pays, so the executor has to pay out of his or her own personal funds. So unless you are so confident that there are no more debts and taxes, just based on your instincts or based on your gut feeling, then yeah, go ahead, pay out to the heirs. But if you don't want to rely on that, you make sure you get final clearance from the IRS. You get final receipt and releases, or basically a paperwork from the creditor saying, yes, we've been paid in full. And only after you have all those ducks lined up and everything paperworked and documented, only then do you pay out to the heirs, because you don't want to be in a position where you have to go and try to get your money back.
Yeah, because that's not happening.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be paying out of pocket. And I don't know about you, I don't have all that laying around to pay for someone else's taxes. And then
nope. Right? It's not a fun situation to be in.
Not at all.
So that's it. We're trying to apply much of our probate knowledge to Bitcoin situations. Let us know if you find this useful. We're probably going to do this a couple more times and see how it sticks. Otherwise, hopefully we're adding to the pool of knowledge about Bitcoin and our little special subspecialty, micro specialty of probate and executorship.
Absolutely. And if you, like you talked about, there are the steps of probate anyway. It takes a long time, and now you're adding on just one more level to it. I suggest Anthony's book, How Probate Works. That's going to take you through what a generic probate, and then once you read that, you're going to have to account for Bitcoin being even more complex.
Absolutely. Okay. Love talking about this stuff. Keep the questions coming. Thank you, Janice, as always. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll talk soon next time. Bye now.
See you.